about the Messi thing?
Anything else on the Messi front, Chris, before we move on?
No, I'm done. I'm
falling out. I told you, I never want to bring this guy's name up again.
I don't know, man. This Messi thing is just a freaking mess. What a disaster.
I don't want to hear this name ever again until it's official. But they got me back.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Joe, the Herons are back. Welcome everybody to episode. Go ahead. Welcome everybody to episode number 81 of the Battered Herons podcast, special midnight edition of the Battered Herons podcast. As you can tell, this is not Chris with us. He is having some issues with his internet. So while he tries to figure it out, Joe was kind enough, because we were texting back and forth throughout the game, to join us to let us know what he felt. Because I believe what you were about to say is you needed some blood pressure medication.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody watching that game could be going to bed right now. Like,
no way.
Like Dallas, Miami, neutral. Like, I tell you what, this game had everything, right? Like, truly everything.
Well, and you heard the Messi chants.
You did, right?
And
it went back and forth, right? You had like FC Dallas chants, you had Messi chants, you had "This is our house" chants, but what you didn't have, right, were salty, bitter chants in the stands, right? So I think you had some good spirited fun at the end of the game.
Well, I guess we could start with that. I said before the game, there's three possible outcomes for every Inter Miami game, right? They either cheated to win. If they lose, it's because they lost despite the referees trying to help them win, or they lost because the referees no longer helped them. But I don't think that there's anything to say. Like, what did you think? Because for those that don't know, Joe is a FC Dallas fan, right? So are there any calls that you would have said, you know what, you guys probably got the benefit of that call?
No, I mean, the only one that I think was a little, it's not iffy. I'm going to go on the record and say it's not iffy, but the only one I was texting you about was the very first goal that Messi scored, right? Where Josef was,
offside.
Well, like, yeah. And so there was some debate about, like, right. Was he obstructing the view or not? And so on the replay, you can see that he wasn't, right? Like, Poss was able to see all of it. But I think that's something where earlier in the season, Dallas had a couple of those calls where it did actually go against Dallas, and it was a little like nuanced, but that's the only one. All the rest of them were pretty straightforward. Like, I don't think there were any controversial calls.
Chris, you're back.
I am back. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on the program.
No. Thank you for taking the time to join us. I know it's a late night. Chris, I mean, what are your thoughts on the game? Like, this is the first time. Look, I'm gonna show you how excited my wife and I got jumping around. I don't know if this is visible on the camera. Oh, you really can't see. But I have a cut on my arm from where I was scratched by this crazy woman. You can't see it. But she scratched me, not on purpose, but because she was celebrating and jumping up so much that she scratched me and she made me bleed. But it was insane in this household. And I'm sure for most people listening, it was insane across Miami for anybody that's into Miami fan. And I mean, for you guys also, because when you guys took that 4-2 lead, I'm sure that in Dallas, it was mayhem also.
Yeah. No, I got to say one thing from a Dallas perspective, right? Velasco showed up today, and it was obvious he wanted to show up for Messi, which I don't mind, right? That's the Velasco that we bought before last season. That's the Velasco that dominated MLS last year. So I was excited to see him back, but he did get gassed. And when he went out, you saw the shift, right? So a combination of Velasco coming out, you got Campana and Cremaschi coming in. That shifts the tonal balance of the field. And at that point, we did look like we were just kind of holding on. And I'll say this, Farfan's going to take a lot of flack from the Dallas side, but I fully believe, even if Farfan doesn't get that in, right, and Messi goes and gets his free kick against 4-3, I still feel like Miami finds one more to tie it up. It just, that's where the momentum was going. And you could feel it, right? It was Dallas, but then it shifted firmly into Miami's side.
Did you say...
I want to mention something here real quick, and I don't know if you have anything lined up. Can you guys hear me good? You can hear me pretty decently?
Yes, I can hear you yeah.
Okay, because Rob Wise is mentioning here that Benja should be back in the starting 11 immediately. I don't know if I'm okay with knee-jerking by saying that, but I 1,000% believe so because what's this guy, Diego? He looked Gomez, like he didn't even know. Diego Gomez looked like he didn't know where to be on the pitch. he had no idea where he should have been. I mean, he just got here, so I get it. But you can carry on now, Danny. I'm sorry.
No, and that's fine. And I think that unfortunately for him, and I feel really bad for him because I think he was put in a tough spot by getting that starting spot right off the bat. But I think he was put in a tough spot, and he's almost playing outside of himself. He's trying to almost prove himself, and he doesn't look good. Was I surprised that Benja didn't start? I wasn't. I think I told you guys last episode that I thought that Diego's were probably going to start this game just because Benja necessarily hasn't looked great either. I'm not saying he's looked bad, but I didn't think he looks great either. But the game did change today when he got on the pitch, and he made a difference. Him and Campana changed that flow, especially Benja, because I got to give him even more credit because he was making the very creative movements in the final third where Diego Gomez wasn't, and he was creating space. He was fine. Like, I thought Benkrem, as Chris calls him, Benkrem had a great game, and I think that it was fitting that he got to put the nail in the coffin with the final goal. And let me tell you something. When he was walking up for that fifth goal, I thought to myself, why put all this pressure on the 18-year-old? But when it works out, it ended up being beautiful.
Yeah, of course. I mean, are you kidding me? Benkrem with the sealer. Right, you had the older Argentine with the first one. You had Benkrem, the younger Argentine, just sealing it off. Which I knew that I forgot who it was that blew that kick. The moment I saw him step back so far, I said, "This kid's gonna blow a 50-yarder for sure."
It was Pomacall. Yeah. You could tell when he came on, he's still recovering from being out injured because he went up maybe 80% speed. Like you could see when he was out in the open, he was getting caught or he couldn't catch up. And to your point, Chris, when he backed up, it's like, oh, he's aiming for that truck in the background.
What he's aiming for is a starting kicker position for the Dallas Cowboys. That's what
I hear they're looking, right?
They're looking for they're always looking. Okay.
So what did you guys think was the issue to start off the game? Because the first half, first of all, the first 3 minutes, you guys should have had probably 2 goals.
Yep.
And the first half overall, Dallas outplayed Miami. Yeah. I felt like Miami just couldn't get anything going in the midfield. We had no defensive midfield. I felt like everybody was just pushing up. Our fullbacks were high up. And it looked like it was a track meet over and over again. It was just – and a lot of people are killing Kristoff. Okay, Kristoff isn't that great. He's not fast.
You overrated him yourself, okay?
That's what I just said.
Yeah, but you fell in love with him.
Was he not playing well when he first got here? Was he not playing well? Shut up. He was playing fine. But for the position that they put him in, pushing up so high, I think he did a pretty good job getting back. His old ass, he looks like he's 76. He put effort and he got back on a lot of those plays. And on that one, was it the first? It was the second goal that was in the transition where he caught up to Ferreira up inside the box. Unfortunately, he ended up scoring anyway. Not Ferreira. I forgot what was the kid's name. Joe that scored. The one that everybody was
talking about
drooling
Camongo,
over.
Or are you talking about Velasco?
Camongo.
Which one?
Camongo. Yeah. Everybody was drooling over this kid before the game started about his background story or whatnot.
Yeah.
So on that,
they mentioned it like 74 times too.
Yeah.
77. Because that's the number he wears on the pitch, right? So they had to put 77.
So, no. Kristoff, I thought, although didn't have the best game, I thought that he was busting his butt trying to get back on some of those transition plays. And I mean, let's be honest, our defense, the talent we have on our defense isn't equipped to kind of cover up. What Chris just disappeared to defend in those situations.
I'm working here
because we have no speed on our defense. So I think that the way we were pushing up is pretty dangerous, and obviously we got caught on the transition constantly this game.
I'll say this. So for the first half, I think what worked well in Dallas's favor is exactly the thing I've been complaining about that I complained about the last show, meaning Velasco was moved centrally. And in my mind, I thought he was moved centrally due to the fact that we had too many injuries in the middle of the pitch. So we had an overabundance of wingers. You got Camongo, you got Obrian, which I texted Daniel, the O in Obrian stands for offsides because that's how many times. That's all he's been good for Dallas. I mean, no offense, right? He has scored some goals, but mostly he's offsides. And then we got onside, we got a bunch of wingers. and Velasco and Areola as well, but Velasco's moved centrally, and I felt like moving him back deeper in the pitch, letting him see more of the ball, hasn't really worked. But in this game, it did. He was dictating the tempo of the pitch. He was winning the one-on-one battles. He was spraying it out to Kamungo and Obrian, and Ferreira should have had multiple goals, and he didn't. He overthought the one touch where Kamal Miller caught up to him, right?
Oh,
like he overthought
that
that
was
badly.
crazy.
I don't know what's going on with Ferreira lately, but ever since like the Nations League and the Gold Cup, like that break, he's just kind of been mentally not quite as there as he was like last year. So, but that I think was what helped Dallas, was Velasco dictating the pitch, and then when he left, obviously you lose that spark, and then that hole was filled by Kramashi, right, coming on, and then of course Messi is always there.
Was anybody else surprised seeing Kamal Miller, the slowest player on the pitch? I think he's slower than Christoph. I don't care what you say. Playing a two-man game right up top the 18 and then cutting into the box on a through ball, trying to catch up to it. Like, what is he doing up there? Like, that's how high we are playing, that Kamal Miller is receiving passes inside the box. How are we not going to get caught on the transition? And I saw a comment here that says once Aviles is here, Thomas Aviles, hopefully this week he gets here, he'll end up taking Christoph's position, so we'll get some speed back there. But that was pretty tough to watch. That was 100% tough to watch. Chris, people are killing you for your camera.
Listen, I'm literally holding it with my arm. I don't have like a selfie stick, and I'm still trying to steal the neighbor's internet. Okay. So,
Chris, are you all right? Do we need a GoFundMe for you? Like, what's going on?
If you can contact AT&T and tell them to send me the damn box quicker, because it just exploded on me today.
No.
Well, I mean, I'm exaggerating.
Exploded faster than, unfortunately, Dallas's chances in the PK, I would say.
That is correct. Yes. But it should be here in 2 days, so I could live without internet for a couple of days.
Were you guys? So the game was 3-1, and I remember I texted Joe. I was like,
"Give me a second. I'm going to try to lean this on something."
Go for it. I thought that this game was out of our hands. I thought that you guys had it, and you told me still too much time. And then we tie the game, and then Robert Taylor goes and does that own goal. I want to come out and say, and I don't think many people did this, but I just want to be sure to put this out there. Robert Taylor deserves no blame on that.
No.
I think that when you look back, he was the only one that was out in the final third that busted his behind to get back to that play. I think that's more on Drake. Drake was caught sleeping. I don't know why he just let that just roll by him. Now, I love Drake, but man, that was way more on Drake than it was on Robert Taylor.
It felt like he thought there was it looked like he thought something was happening, right? Like there was a whistle, there was going to be a flag. Like it looked like he was waiting for something, which you never want to do as a goalie, right? Is wait for something. Paz made a save when the shot that was offsides. I forget exactly where it was, but I think it was near the end of the first half. And then Paz makes the save, and they end up calling, I think it was either Josef or Messi offsides. And that was something where I was telling my wife, I was like, look, this is something where like, yeah, it's offsides, but you don't want to leave that to chance. Like if you can make the save, you make it, and then you let the ref make the call afterwards, right? Don't leave anything up for debate.
Chris, were you blaming your boy Robert Taylor when he hit that own goal?
No, not at all. I mean, this guy had to run a track meet all the way from one side of the field to the other.
He was the only one that did it.
Listen, you could literally, and I don't know if you saw from the notes I wrote, you could literally tell that the worst part of our team were our center backs. And Dallas knew how to attack the center backs at full capacity. And so the fact that you have Robert Taylor kind of running back all the way from the other side of the field to try to recover, and then unfortunately Drake just in instinct couldn't be able to recover and save it. I don't think it had anything to do with Taylor.
And to be fair, our Jordi Alba and Yedlin push up. So this is what I think we're gonna have to start getting used to. Before we actually saw Tata and his tactics and everything, we had Tommy one time, right? He's an United Atlanta United supporter, right? So he's seen Tata, and he told us
Yeah.
he's really, really aggressive. He pushes up
Mhm.
very high. And that's fine, but we got to start getting used to these having to get back on transition defense, because this is going to be a common theme for us. Because if we're just going to be pushing that high, we're going to be caught on the counter consistently. And if we don't have speed at center back, which hopefully Thomas Aviles kind of helps us with, and maybe Dixon Arroyo staying back, because Busquets isn't staying back. Busquets is pushing up just as high as Messi sometimes. So I'm not sure what we're going to do, but if that's the case, we're going to be being caught on these counters consistently throughout the rest of the season, at least.
Well,
I mean,
and
go ahead, Chris.
no, I'm sorry, Joe. This was a game of counters,
Mhm.
especially in the first half. I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, Joe, but that's kind of what I saw, at least in the first half. No.
Yeah. No, 100%. And then you could even hear Taylor Twellman on commentary when Taylor came back. He was like, look, nobody is tracking back. Taylor's completely off screen and then comes way in. And it's just, it's just an unfortunate poke. But yeah, no, absolutely a game of counters. And I got to say, I want to give a shout out to my favorite player on Dallas, which is a center back in Kosi Tafari, big, tall dude with bleach blonde hair, right? Plays every game with the nose ring. Like that's ballsy to me, right? Like I wouldn't want to be playing with the nose ring, right? But I tell you what, he had a couple of great saves, right? There was one where Messi chipped Pass was flapping his arms, and Tafari was right there at the back post because he knew Messi was going to go there, and so he heads it out. And then he takes the blast to the face from Messi, and he pops right back up. And Messi comes over, is like, "You all right? You okay?" Right? And then Tafari was on the mic where people were interviewing him about what are you going to do to mark Messi, and he's like, "Look, you guys didn't even know my name before 5 minutes ago, and now you're asking how I'm going to mark the greatest player in the history of the sport." And he said, "Look, I don't care if it's my mom, my grandma, or Messi. I'm gonna mark them all the same." So there you go.
Yeah, I saw that interview, and he says, and that's the only reason you interview me, but that's fair. And
Right.
I really like that. Yeah, he's like, I get it. So I respect that. And then one thing I did want to bring up, two things actually, before we start going over just in order of kind of the timetable of the game. One thing, everybody's talking about the Messi treatment, right? He's getting all these calls, supposedly you can't touch him. Let me tell you something. If that's happening, it's happening at the expense of Busquets. They must have said, okay, we'll give Messi all the calls, but Busquets isn't getting anything because he's getting cleated once a game at least, and not even a foul is being called because he took a dirty one. I don't know. It wasn't intentional, but he took a pretty nasty one at the beginning of this game, and not even a foul was called. And the same thing happened against Orlando. I feel bad for this guy Busquets. He's not getting the Messi treatment at all.
Well, that doesn't help. I mean, and on top of that, you would think that, and he's like so tall, right? Like when he gets attacked at his legs, it looks like a tree is just crumbling down. And so I look at him fall and I'm like, oh my God, this guy is done. There's no way he's getting back up from that, right, Joe?
Yeah. I also wonder, is he like part vampire too? Because he looks a little like anemic, just a bit. Maybe that's why he has such strength, right? And such precision and can play so late, right? He's just a vampire. I mean, you never know. But yes, Daniel, to your point, I do think like he's the one that's sort of like taking all the challenges and taking all the brute force, not getting the calls. And then Chris, anytime that Busquets gets challenged, I'm like, look out, everybody, timber, like, watch out.
So, all right. So I guess let's start in order. So game started, right? Hot as hell. A lot of Messi fans out there. You can see the Argentina and Barcelona jerseys everywhere. Messi chance start, and obviously Dallas starts off hot. I was worried, but then it kind of, when that goal got called back, it reminded me of the Atlanta game because the same thing happened with Atlanta. First 2 minutes, they score, it gets called back, and then Messi responds like a couple minutes later, and we're off to the races. Same thing happened here. 6th minute, Messi scores. I'm like, oh, this might be Atlanta all over again. It wasn't. I mean, high scoring, yes, but it wasn't.
Yes.
But it felt that way at first, but then Dallas really buckled down.
Yeah,
I don't think I got. Go ahead, Joe. Before I ask,
I was just gonna say, I think when we got that goal called back, I was worried because I've seen multiple instances this season where we start out, we're looking promising, we have a call go against us for whatever reason, and then we just kind of like fall back, like, like throwing up her hands, basically like, oh, all right, well, people are out against us. And that's where I've said Ferreira has looked a little lost in those instances. Is it's felt this year, it felt last year he was playing for a World Cup spot, right? This year it feels like he's playing to, I don't know, for a move or something, but he just, if something doesn't go quite right, he just kind of is out of it after that. So I was worried, and especially when Messi gets the goal, right? Gets the goal in the 6th minute. I was like, all right, here we go. But to the credit of Alan Velasco, he picked the team up and said, let's go. I got it. I got the keys. Yeah. I'm driving. Let me cook. Watch. So.
Well, and one of the points I wanted to make, and I don't know if we're going to get to it, Danny, I know you were kind of walking through some of the game. Because a lot of people are starting to bring up, about Taylor out of position. Taylor wasn't effective. Let me tell you guys something.
But they're right, though.
Go ahead. No, and they are right. I mean, look, he scored a goal in every game that Messi has played with him, right? So obviously everybody's looking at him as a Di Maria 2.0. He has one game where he doesn't score a goal. He's not jumping off the face of the earth. All right, guys, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Am I wrong, Danny?
No, you're not wrong. But I think that what ended up happening today, and in the chat, you could tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think Jordi Alba's presence on that left side kind of diminished Robert Taylor's production, because Robert Taylor was manning that side, that left flank by himself up top. Jordi Alba started going and doing those overlapping runs, and it was basically his side. And Robert Taylor kind of got lost in that mix. To be honest with you, Robert Taylor was basically a ghost in that game. I didn't really notice him all that much. And yes, I understand statistically, you think about the goals and the assists the first couple of games, but today he didn't have an impact at all, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that he's crap or anything. I still think that he's a productive player, but I do think that the fact that Jordi Alba was there, it did diminish his role a bit, because Jordi Alba now was the one making those crosses into the box and making those overlapping runs, connecting with Messi. And so I think that it's going to take some getting used to Robert Taylor now having to deal with him, because before, who did he have playing behind him? Noah Allen. Noah Allen wasn't contributing very much offensively, but Jordi Alba will. Jordi Alba will consistently contribute offensively, and Robert Taylor's going to have to. There's going to be some type of adjustment there.
Well, and I think one of the biggest things that I noticed is that, and they did this a couple times in the game, where you'd seen Jordi Alba take it and cross it, but on the ground towards the middle, right? He's not air crossing it. He's crossing it towards the middle on the ground.
Yeah, low cross. Right.
Yeah, a low cross. And they did that like about 3-4 times. And after the second time, I said, ooh, it looks like they've been practicing that a little bit. So that could be affecting, I guess, Robert Taylor's, I guess, his role. But one thing that you can't discount is that Busquets is linking up with these players is critical. And the fact that, Dallas, I don't know what they were doing on defense, but I know that they had to have game plan something to be able to take away the effect that Busquets has in the game.
You could see Dallas. So I would agree. I felt like Alba's presence completely removed Taylor's impact in this game. So I think that's going to need a little bit of adjustment from a Miami side, because you want to get the most out of both of those players, 100%.
Yeah.
And I would say from a defensive standpoint, you just saw consistently, I saw Dallas stepping to Busquets, like almost right before he got the ball. There's a couple of instances where you could just see a little bit of a nudge or a little bit of a shoulder, or in one case, a pretty stiff challenge, right? Just to try and diminish that lane, because it felt like Dallas's plan was to take out the support structure for Messi without going towards Messi. Because you go towards Messi, you're getting cards, you're getting calls, right? I mean, that's just, that's going to happen. So don't go towards Messi, put a presence, but don't go to Messi, go to the support. Because if you can't pass to anyone, eventually you're going to get the ball back and counter. And we saw that happen in the first half.
Yeah.
Well, we got that early goal and didn't do too much after that. But then after that, you guys scored in the 37th minute, which is the Facundo Quignon goal, which remind me, that was not the fast break, was it?
No, the fast break was Comungo, I believe. Quignon, I
Yes.
was actually impressed with Quignon. He kept his temper or his flailing arms in check, and he didn't pick up the card that I expected him to pick up. He was a lot more disciplined, and he got a good goal in that 37th minute. But the Comungo goal, I know people talking about his story because it's a good one, but Comungo's goal at that tight angle, he's still a little raw in some moments. You saw him sky a couple chances, but when he's on, a lot of his goals have been sort of those really intricate blasts. So you can tell if he gets a little bit more development, he's going to make almost all of those chances instead of like kind of 1 in 3, which is where he's at right now.
And that Comungo goal was that 45th minute goal that was off of a Yedlin cross where he was basically on the touchline on the other side. He crossed it in and they were off to the races. And it was basically 1-on-1. Christoph somehow kept up with Ferreira. I'm not sure how. That's why I'm giving Christoph credit. Although he's slow and he may not be that great, I thought that he put forth effort, right? He didn't give up on that play. And then Ferreira laid it off to Comungo and he got that tight spot. Now, what I was frustrated with is that the spot was very tight. And then Arroyo and Christoph were basically covering the same space. And I felt like Christoph could have gone and covered that tight spot that he actually scored in. But there you go, Chris. I guess he was playing it safe just in case he tried to cross it. So it was definitely a frustrating end of the first half, but entertaining all the less. At the end of the first half, Joe, as a FC Dallas supporter, were you feeling confident at that point?
I am a OG Dallas fan. I'm never feeling confident. I still remember being up in the 2010 MLS Cup final and losing spectacularly in extra time. Like that one still burns, right? So, no, I don't
burn.
Right? Burn, baby, burn. I'll tell you what, we could have won the championship heading home, right? Cracking open a beer, about to go to bed, and then I still would be like, well, maybe I feel confident now, right? Like that's how non-confident I am. My wife was like, well, game feels good, I'm heading to bed, and so I'm gonna have to let her know in the morning, like, well, so
she
that
didn't
lead.
get to she didn't finish it.
No, she did say, she was like, I'm gonna go to bed now because if they lose, I won't be able to go to bed, and if they win, right, it's too exciting, like can't go to bed. So I'm just like, all right, that's fair, right? But no, I would say I felt more confident in how we were playing, and I felt like if Velasco continues this play, we're going to be in a good spot. And you saw that when he got that free kick goal around the 61st minute, I think, so right at that hour mark. And I thought Leggett got a toe to it right at first, and then no, he just provided the kind of the screen, and then it just went right in.
Listen, I knew the moment. I'm going to tell you right now, Joe. The moment that I saw Messi step up for that free kick, I just said, this whole game is over. This whole game. Anything can happen after that. Unicorns can literally fly onto the field. And Messi is going to win this game just because he makes this free kick. The moment I saw that go in, I said, game over. Next series.
Well, before that goal, Farfan had an own goal, right? Because at that point, you got 4-2, right? And then no, it's 3-2.
So Velasco scored to make it 3-1, and then that's when Kremeshi came in, got that beautiful goal in the 65th minute that made it 3-2.
Which was an assist by Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba ended up having 2 assists, which is why Robert Taylor was not effective because Jordi Alba was the one feeding the ball into the box. Now, that Farfan own goal, it looked absolutely horrible. Like, I'm not sure what he was trying to do with it.
Well,
this is what I imagine. Yes. This is what I imagine. He looks up to Messi. All his life, he's wanted to play with Messi. This was his chance to get a ball from Messi, connect with it with his head, and see the ball hit the back of the net. I don't care what you say. In the future, he's going to tell his grandkids that he got a goal off of a Messi cross. That's the story I'm telling.
I mean, he literally headed it in, right? Like, he wasn't trying to go over the goal.
Yeah,
like, he literally aimed for the center of that goal.
I think there was some power behind it.
I truly believe Farfan hasn't started the last little bit because he's had different injuries or he's been in and out of the lineup. So I was a bit surprised to see him start.
There we go. That's
if
what I
there's a
wanna
trade
see.
tomorrow, right, then I'll be suspicious. No, but the Farfan can defend, so maybe there is some credence
There
to
you go.
but I would say, so I was a bit surprised to see him start over Junqua, who had been starting at left back for him. So when Farfan came on, Farfan's usually defending in that space, but he's a bit further out, right? So you usually see him more far post. So when he does head it, he heads it out, right? And so I think he, for whatever reason, didn't realize he was closer to the net. And I think the heat and the not playing, or I think there was a lot of factors that went into it, and he just like muscle memory was like thump it in and was like, oh
It's
shit,
the
I'm in the
Messi
wrong
effect.
space.
It's
It is the mess.
Messi
Like
effect.
for real though, I think you get players that just overthink things, right?
Yeah.
And I saw a comment a moment ago in the chat where someone was asking about, did Velasco getting subbed off kill the game? Yeah, no, absolutely it did. And I think that's the risk you run, is that you want to leave him, ideally you leave Velasco in because of how much he's dominating the game, but you also understand he's starting to get gassed because he's not used to having this much of the ball for this long in this heat this season. There's a lot of adjustments, so you're trying to balance it, and you hope that bringing in Pomacall and bringing in Insama is going to help from a defensive shape, lock it in. But you also know, like, you're going up against Messi. I mean, it's a crapshoot, right? So yeah, bringing Velasco off definitely killed it.
I did want to bring up real quick that own goal from Robert Taylor. Actually, before I do, if you're watching this, please like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Listen, I'm doing this show. I typically do it from a nice camera with a nice microphone, and I connected my phone. Make sure you guys use that thumb, scroll up and down, boom, 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 like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
And for anybody in the chat, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Chris usually handles the chat. I've been trying my best to keep up with it, but I'm really bad at it.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And Joe,
So,
tell them where to find you too.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah. So who am I, right? So I'm a lifelong Dallas fan, but I also run a sports history podcast about the Miami Fusion, the OG club in MLS that took place in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, right? So it's called 25 for 25, the story of the Miami Fusion from those who lived it. It's an oral history of the podcast. So 25 for 25, anywhere you listen to podcasts, and then at Miami Fusion Pod on Instagram and Facebook. And then I'm Detox Joe, DTALKS Joe, on Twitter, and I've had a blast doing this, so I'm gonna be doing more and more sports history stuff, specifically MLS history stuff. And there's a cool live recording and Miami Fusion reunion on Friday, October 6th at Mickey Byron's Irish Pub in Hollywood, Florida. So 8 to 9:30, we're doing the recording, the reunion, and after that, we're just drinking and having a good time until they kick us out. So it'll be a good time. All right,
Sounds like a fun time, and we'll be there. So that'll be a fun time.
Yeah.
All right, so that own goal, that ended up, what led to that transition was Josef. He tried to get a foul call, I guess, didn't get it, but Busquets and Messi both threw up their arms, and it looked like everybody just stopped playing except for Dallas, Christoph, Miller, and Yedlin. That was it. And then Robert Taylor eventually. Now, did you guys get a good look at that? Did you guys think it was a foul? Did Josef get fouled there?
When I saw the play,
because
I mean,
there was a VAR. They checked it on the VAR when they were checking the goal. They weren't checking if the goal was right, good. They were checking to see if there was a foul. And I would like to put this out there for the MLS conspiracy theorists that said that Messi and Inter Miami is going to get every call. If they were going to get every call, I promise you they would have gotten that call.
Yeah,
because that goal could have been the nail in the coffin at that point. So if there was a conspiracy about them trying to get Miami to win, that would have been it. Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry to cut you off.
You know, I tell you, the refs, they really did a good job in swallowing the whistle this game. They let a lot of stuff go by. So, and in that context, just looking at how the game was playing out, I tell you that I guess it was good not to call it, but I mean, it could have been called either way. So
I think, right. So I'll say this. I think Miami wins, right? So I think maybe people are a little bit okay with it not being called, right? Miami loses. I think it's a different discussion. I will say,
we're not whiners.
No. It's
we're
not like this is an Orlando podcast, right, or anything.
We're not Orlando.
There's no lion masks. None of that
This
stuff.
is a Mickey Mouse FC, right? No.
No,
So
yes.
it was definitely Ibiaga definitely stepped hard to Josef, right? So I definitely think it was a pretty stiff challenge, but it was one of those where the ref makes a decision in that moment, and to Chris's point, had made the decision earlier in the game. You're either gonna start calling things and tighten it up, or you've got two teams that are putting on a show and are wanting to just go, and you want to let them play. I think the ref made the decision. It wasn't so severe that I felt it was worth calling. So I'm going to let it go and I'm going to let them play. And I think that was its subjectivity. And I think on the VAR call, it wasn't like Taylor Twellman made a point where he was like, it's not so clear and obvious that it's like absolutely going to be called. It was like subjective and left up to the ref's discretion. And I think the ref, like, again, to Chris's point, earlier in the match made the decision, I'm going to let both of these teams just hit the gas and play. And then we'll see, let the better team win at the end of the day.
There was a sequence there where my wife is like, I feel like I'm watching like indoor soccer, because it was really messy, no pun intended, where it was just like people falling over and just like the ball was just ping-ponging back for a solid 30 seconds. I'm like, what the hell is going on? But it was, I thought, a very aggressive game. The rest were letting them play, which I love. I love that they did that. And I'm glad that it went the way it did. Look, Busquets, and somebody mentioned earlier, Busquets got fouled a lot this match. We brought this up maybe like 10, 15 minutes ago. Busquets isn't getting the Messi treatment. If Messi's getting preferential treatment, it's at the cost of Busquets, because he's not getting any calls. But that's neither here nor there. Now, when Robert Taylor got moved to the right side, I had some people saying that he moved to right wing. I thought that he moved to right back, right? Yedlin got subbed off. He fell into right back because Robert Taylor is the Swiss Army knife. They plug him in just about everywhere.
That was at the go ahead, Danny. Sorry.
I was going to say that he looked better in those last 10, 15 minutes in the open right side without Jordi Alba going ahead and doing those overlapping runs where he had space to move. He's the one that drew the foul for Messi to hit that free kick goal. Once Robert Taylor has space, that's why he's been so good since Messi's arrived, because that side of the field has opened up for him. It was no longer open when he had Jordi Alba overlapping him, because now he had more defenders to deal with. He didn't have as much room to move. But on the right side, Messi moves into the middle all the time. Robert Taylor had room to move. And I thought, like I said, that's where he drew that foul. I think Robert Taylor, if Jordi Alba is going to keep pushing the ball up as much as he is, I think they should move Robert Taylor over to the right side. Now, I don't know how that works with Messi, since he's technically the right wing or whatnot. And maybe that doesn't happen. But maybe it's just one game and they'll figure it out. But I think Robert Taylor's going to have a hard time adjusting with Jordi Alba over there on the left side.
I didn't think that he got moved to right wing back or right back. He was a little bit more forward. It was Arroyo that ended up. Let me see who mentioned it here. Tank is, I think it is Bruno.
Okay,
but we're gonna leave it at Tank. All right, and yeah, I mean he mentioned that he went to right center back. I mean he went to right wing because that's what happens when Robbie Robinson gets on the pitch. For some reason they switch over so that way they can give Robbie Robinson some opportunities or whatever. But I think they just hit him a little bit more. I just think that his performance wasn't great. I mean, just for different reasons. And Arroyo ended up playing the right back. So I don't think that he played like a back position when Robbie Robinson came in. I just thought that they hit him a little bit more.
Oh, they hit him more because he had time on the ball, right? He had time on the ball. He had time to move with the ball. He wasn't getting that on the left side.
Yeah. What did you see, Joe?
Well, I was just going to say, I saw, this is tangentially related to what we're talking about, but I saw someone in the comments, or multiple people have talked about bench Josef. Josef didn't do anything. Don't start Josef. I actually disagree with that, right? So one thing that I think, here's what I think, right? So I think Josef, once Messi has started playing, right, Josef has started coming alive, and they talked about like Josef kind of plays up to who he's playing with historically. And I think what Josef does do is he draws attention and focus typically, which allows Messi and Busquets and others to get in and work the magic. I don't know. I feel like Josef knows how to play that role. I don't know if any of the other options will know how to play that role with Messi in the same way. Now, tonight, I don't think Josef did as good of a job as he historically does, because it felt like Dallas was scouting for that a bit more. So instead of going to Josef, they still stepped in, but they stepped more. That's where they stepped more to Busquets and just was like, we understand what you're trying to do. We're not going to fall for it. We're going to keep compact. We're going to keep organized with our back four. But I do think against other teams, you saw it against Atlanta, right? You've seen it against Cruz Azul. You saw it against Orlando. I think Josef knows the role to play to help Messi unlock Busquets, etc., and Taylor, right, to unlock these teams. So it'll be interesting. They're playing the winner of Charlotte, Houston, right?
Yep. Yes.
And
At
God,
home,
I hope it's Houston, and
Friday.
I hope it's a shellacking, because if there's one thing I can't stand is happy Houston fan. I just can't stand it.
Well, and I want to mention something here. Mike V says Josef is a hack brother. That's that. Look, I'll tell you what I think, Joe. And I was watching the game here. My wife, my mother-in-law, even my freaking daughter, they love Campana. Okay, and that's Campapi. And
for obvious
he's finally
reasons.
He's a good soccer player. All right, let's leave it at that.
No, but my wife was excited when he came onto the pitch also, so whatever.
Of course, because his hair flows in the air, right?
Yeah,
It does.
for sure,
It does.
Sure.
And so I think the problem is that other than a penalty kick, has Josef scored other than a penalty kick, Danny, if you remember? I mean,
No, but
other than that,
he's had some look, he's contributed a lot in the way that the offense has flowed. Like
his
I remember
pace
Alex
plays better.
No, and he links up well with Messi and with Robert Taylor.
Yes,
like
yes.
he makes those. Don't remember we were killing him for those dummy passes, right? Where he kind of just lets the ball go by him, but then there's nobody on the other side that can finish. So we're like, dude, just take it yourself. But
the Barcelona guys love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like it works now. Today, yes, maybe he wasn't great, but I do think that he's played decent for what they're asking him to do. He links up well with Messi. Technically, just based off of the skill, he is better than Campana with a technique. He can pass back and forth with Messi and with Robert Taylor. Now, Campana, I think, is a better target inside the box. He's a better finisher, in my opinion. So it really depends on what you're looking for. And I think what Messi likes to play with is almost like a false nine. Yeah. Because Messi can finish inside the box. He isn't your typical 10, so he doesn't need a typical 9. So I think that's why they like Josef. But with all that being said, I wouldn't mind seeing Campana out there a little more. I want to see what he can do as a big target for Messi and Robert Taylor and Jordi Alba now that can cross the ball into him.
I would be a bit worried, to me, and Chris, sorry, I know you're about to say something. I'll pass it to you.
Go ahead.
I worry that unless there's sort of clear direction, I worry that Campana will sort of step on the toes or step into the lanes of some of these other players. It doesn't feel like Josef is getting in the way. It feels more like a compliment. I do agree. I like Campana and what he brings as a different element. I think Tata needs a bit more time with Campana before I as a outside Miami fan would feel comfortable seeing Campana start over Josef. But that's my take. Chris, how about you?
I agree with what you're saying, because I feel like the experience for Josef pays off better because he has a little bit more patience for the kind of ball that Tata wants to play, the kind of ball that the guys like Messi and Busquets want to play. And I feel like Campana is just a little bit, hey, let's go, get me the ball and let me slam it from this spot. And I think it just doesn't play to the benefit of Tata's scheme. That's where I think Josef is taking the cake in terms of keeping that position.
And let's not forget too that Josef has a history with Tata, right? So Tata trusts Josef in a way that he may not trust Campana yet.
Well, we always figured that Josef would have the upper hand when it came to starting once Tata kind of took over, because we knew that history was there, and it takes a while. And to the Campana front, I like Campana, but if we're honest, let's be honest. Campana, when has he been?
This guy, you're about to crush everybody's soul in this chat room, because everybody hates on Josef right now. Go ahead. I know.
But when has Campana been best? There was a stretch of like 10 games at the beginning of last season where Higuain got benched and we had no number 10. So it was basically Campana or bust for us. right? It was play it into Campana because we have no other creators, and he was doing a good job creating for himself. Once Pozuelo came in, now granted, Campana was injured a lot for the second half of last year, but did he ever have any link-up play or any good play with Pozuelo? Not really. At the beginning of this year, when Campana finally came back, did he really show us anything? No, everybody was saying Campana is playing decent, but not great. So, and I fall into it also because I'm a Campana fan, but why? Like, what has he really done consistently for over that, outside of that 10-game span where we're like, man, Campana's that guy? Obviously, everybody thought that because he got a DP spot, but has he really blown us out of the water? Not really. Higuain's second half was better than Campana's first half. And if you're looking at this year so far, Josef has at least contributed more than Campana has. So am I wrong? What do you think, Chris?
Listen, I mean, the thing about it is that you have Higuain's last half was more recent than Campana's first half, right? So that's just a little bit more easy to remember. And the whole thing with Campana, listen, they signed him to a big deal and made him the face of the team.
That lasted long.
Yeah, but you can't take away from that. Like, he was.
Yes,
something.
I can.
If you take away from that, then you don't have your U22s and your U18s and your U16s.
Well, that's why I always knew that there was no way that they were going to get rid of him. Because if they got rid of him, since he's a U22 player as a DP, we got to keep the 3 U22s. That's why we kept him. But in reality, if he's not playing, how many DPs in the league are getting 10 to 15 minutes a game?
Ooh,
not many.
I don't know about this comment here, Mike V.
Look,
Higuain and Campana are not the same exact player. I don't think so. That's a little wild.
All I'm saying is, I'm not hating on Campana, but I'm just making a point that for everybody to say Josef's got to go because Campana needs to play. I want to see Campana play, but I mean, because I'm just curious, really, not because I expect to see anything great, because I haven't seen much. I saw those good 10 first games. Wow. And then after that, he's been off and on. Like, he hasn't been consistently good. And don't tell me that he has. If he was consistently good, he probably would have gotten on the field before Tata came. So, yeah. All right. So, real quick, that last goal that Messi scored, Joe, when he was lining up for it, did you have any doubt that it was going in? I wish I would have put down my phone because my wife and I stood up in front of the TV and she goes, "We can't expect him to make everyone." I was like, "No, we can't. But there's a chance, right?" And I kind of wish I would have recorded it because that's when I got scratched by Wolverine with her nails. So, what were you thinking when he lined up for that free kick?
This is what I was thinking. All right, so Areola is probably going to shoot first in the PKs, and we know Ferreira is going to shoot one, right? That's what I was thinking, right? I was also thinking, like, let's make it to PKs after this. I mean, come on. I got to say, Siki and Sabaling, who came on and gave the foul that created the own goal opportunity, and I don't know if he also did the foul that led to the Messi goal. I know he did the free kick that led to the Farfan own goal, and Sabaling gets, like, I don't know what it is, but he is like Quignon 2.0 in that he will do these fouls. I'm like, what are you doing? You can't do a foul right there, right now with that going on. Oh, he had the handball. That's what it was. He had the handball that set up the free kick.
Yes.
And then he fouled that set up the Messi kick. That's what it was. I'm getting my stats confused.
Yeah, Robert Taylor got fouled on the other side to set up the Messi kick. Yes.
Right. So that's where it was. And it was very frustrating because you've got it. Yeah. Always recording this. That's a good, right. You can always delete it later if he doesn't score, right? So then you only get the bangers. But I would say it's tough as a team when you're in that situation. It's a packed house. It's hot. It's late. You've got to put guys on that are going to make the right call. I was kind of hoping we would see our new defensive mid signing, but I also knew it was probably not a great move to put in guys that you trust. But in Sabaling going in, I was like, ooh, so long as he doesn't foul anybody, we should be fine. Oh, here we go. Right. So yeah, I was just trying to figure out, can we make it through PKs? Is it possible? And no, it was not, but it was a good run, right? It was a good match. And you show anybody that says MLS is not a good league, give them that match. They just watch that match. If you're not a fan by the end of the match,
1000%.
you don't have a pulse.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that's the game of the tournament at least, right? Outside of
I'm
that,
gonna-
maybe that
Yeah.
that PK that went back and forth for like 20 shots. Go ahead, Chris.
Right.
I'm gonna give you my opinion. Let me tell you, FC Dallas has gotten some brownie points from me because the game that they played against, I mean, this is the first time you're hosting the best player in the world on a team that is streaking on a tournament
that
that
Messi fans in there.
Oh my goodness. I mean, there were people selling Messi jerseys outside the stadium. What are we doing? What are you doing, Dallas? Like all the chips are stacked up against you guys. And
Do you not expect that from now on, like in every road game, though?
I mean,
oh
you
my
will
God, but
probably.
in Dallas? In Dallas? Like I'd expect like California, I'd expect like New York, but come on, man. And
Messi has fans everywhere, man.
I mean, I get it. Yes, Messi. Yes, Danny. Yes, you are 1000% correct. Yes, Messi has fans everywhere. Yes, you're correct. Yes, but
So why are you surprised?
like, come on, like FC Dallas. Well, just speaking about.
Sorry,
the
Joe,
play-
but Dallas are fair. If you're a Cowboys fan, you're a fair weather fan. So Dallas has no respect.
Get out of here. First of all, FC Dallas had the best quarterback that wore a star since Troy Aikman watching the game. Okay.
Oh,
Because
Oh,
Dak
Romo.
Prescott
Yeah,
really
I saw him
sucks.
up there.
Yeah, of course, Romo, baby. Come on, baby.
I hope that
Well-
seat was comfortable on his back. You know, I feel he's still got those lingering issues.
Well, the point that I was trying to make,
Yeah.
FC Dallas really impressed me. I thought that they played extremely well. They pressured really, really well our defense. I mean, this is the best game. This is probably the best game that we're going to have this series against Miami.
Yeah.
I don't think that
product
there's
back.
going to be another team that's going to play us as good as FC Dallas is.
No, it really felt, so I appreciate you saying that as a Dallas fan as well, Chris. I appreciate you saying that because it did feel like I wanted Dallas to show up and show out in the way that I knew that they could. And we've not historically been a dirty team. We've had dirty players, right? Everybody does. We've had dirty games.
Yes.
It happens. But I felt like, look, we need to get, if we win, and even if we don't win, we need to get the respect of the league by playing the way we can play to show people like, look, we went down with a fight, right? We put it all out on the line. At the end of the day, you can't say anything bad, right? We left it all out there. It was what it was. Now, when you're playing Houston, if Houston wins, that's going to be a different story for sure.
Greetings, Alishaman from Bangladesh.
Yes,
joining
welcome.
us. It's got to be the morning time over there, I'm assuming.
Yes, it does have to be morning time.
Clara was commenting. I lost the comment already. She said that she watched Messi at PSG for 2 years and that it's felt like the World Cup, the first couple MLS games that she's watched here, because League One is crap. And I second and third that because I've been telling everybody, maybe not right now, maybe not in the next 3-4 years, but within the next 10 years, I'm sorry, I think MLS is going to be going up in the ranks, and it's going to be one of the top leagues in the world. The people that are purists laugh at that, but the names that are going to start coming over here, and this is a conversation for another day, right? But if everybody considers that French League One Cup like a top league, I'm telling you, I've watched that league. That league is unbearable to watch. So if that's one of the top leagues, I don't think that MLS is going to be far off in the next 10, 15 years to be one of the top leagues also.
Look at the comment that CJC just made. Shout out to PSG for letting Messi train for the World Cup dub, though. I mean,
this is true.
Not only for that, but literally getting shopped over to MLS. So thank you, PSG. You guys suck.
Let's finish up with the game, and then we could talk about what's ahead. So when it came to the PKs, I was kind of surprised that Messi let it off. I thought that he might be the fifth kicker. And I will tell you another thing. I was nervous because something that people criticize Messi for is that he has blown quite a bit. And I think he converts like 75% of them, right? So he's not horrible. But 75% means you're missing 1 out of 4. So I was a little nervous because I didn't want to see that narrative out if he would have missed that, and then that would be the only one missed or something like that. But Messi nailed it, and then Busquets came, he nailed his, and that's when your boy Paxton Pomacall came on and sailed it over the bar. At that point, I thought we were in good shape. Did you have any hopes after that, Joe?
I mean, you always got to have hope, right? That's why it's the beautiful game, right? Just as much as it'll lift you up, it'll break your heart, right? In seconds, right? So shout out to the U.S. Women's National Team for also going out on PKs earlier today. Whoa, we don't have enough time to go into that. But yeah, no, when Pomacall missed it, I was like, I really think that's it, right? I mean, it's going to be tough. And I'll tell you this though, like you saw from the Dallas players, right? When it was over, Pomacall and Farfan definitely felt it and felt bad, but you did see from the Dallas team, like, look, all right, we did it. We had fun. It was a great match to be a part of. And I'm excited that, we were able to kind of make a name for ourselves in this way. But yeah, no, once Pomacall missed, I was like, I think that's it. I don't think there's any magic left unless it's Messi magic, in which case that doesn't go for Dallas, right? It goes the other way. But it was shout out. I mean, I honestly thought Kamal Miller was a bit surprised to see him step up as well. I wasn't really
that
expecting.
was literally what I was about to bring up right now. Was anybody else surprised to see Kamal Miller there? First, he's making runs into the box. Now he's taking penalty kicks.
Who is this guy?
What are we doing here? What are we doing with Kamal Miller here?
I wasn't surprised for it because I don't know if you remember, Danny, when we went to go see Inter Miami against Miami FC.
The Miami Derby.
Yes, the Miami Derby. He scored a penalty kick in at the end. So that's the second time that he had to show his balls.
Oh yeah, that was quite the celebration for sure.
The cojones.
Real quick, there's a guy in the chat, Morion, talking about being Argentinian. I will say, thank you for coming. Make sure to like and subscribe. Battered Herons, right? Continue to share it. And since you are Argentinian, Alan Velasco, FC Dallas, he balled out tonight. Give another Argentinian some love. Follow his career as well, right? If you're watching Miami because you got MLS season pass, you can watch Dallas and watch Alan Velasco as well. So there you go.
Yes.
Somebody else from Bangladesh, H. Muna, thank you for joining us from Bangladesh.
Bangladesh going strong today.
Yeah. All right. So as you were saying, Velasco, you were telling me as we were talking throughout the game that he got big money last year, but hasn't necessarily lived up to it yet.
Right.
He came to play today. I think that this is going to be a constant theme for Inter Miami. I mean, until Messi leaves, everybody's going to get up to play Inter Miami because one, Messi's probably one of their idols. And two, they know the eyes of the world. Look at, we got Bangladesh watching us right now. They know the eyes of the world are on them. So this is something that we need to be ready for because there's no cupcake games anymore. Even the worst of teams are going to play their butts off against us. And we need to be ready for that because it's going to be tough sledding from here on out because everybody's bringing their A game.
Listen, I thought that Miller did pretty well this game. I think there was only one time that I think he might have slipped up, and I think it was on the first goal with the cross. I think that was probably the only play that he messed up on. So
that could have been on him or Gomez. Look, Diego Gomez. I guess we could talk Battered Herons and Espanol. We're talking about it. I don't know.
Listen, as long as you guys don't mind a little broken Spanish from my part, a couple que bolas and a couple of pingas, then you're good with it. It just depends if you're willing to support that.
So we're considering it. We don't know yet. So I lost my train of thought when you hit us with the pingas.
Sorry, you were talking.
Coming. You were talking about right. We were talking about Kamal Miller, and then Danny, you were talking about before that team stepping up, right? And there not being any easy games. I think so.
Diego Gomez. Gomez.
Gomez.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. So Diego Gomez is what I want to talk about. So Diego Gomez got the start, and that has me thinking two things. One, obviously, kind of weird that he got the start. He's only played how many minutes did he play last game? Like 20, 30 minutes. I thought that was weird. I'm glad that they put Ben Krem in. I thought Ben Krem did a great job. But that has me worried about when Farias comes in. because I think that Farias is going to come in. And just like Diego Gomez took Ben Krem's spot, I think Farias is going to take Robert Taylor's spot. I really do. And we said that it wouldn't happen because Robert Taylor's played so well. But now we need him to play well with Jordi Alba on that left side. And based off of today, we don't know if that's going to happen. And if he doesn't improve, I think Facundo Farias, or Farias, as they like to call him, is going to take his spot. And I'm not sure if I'm loving that because I want to see Robert Taylor on the pitch. Chris?
Are you really ready for that? Are you really ready for Taylor to get his spot taken?
Yeah.
One game and we're already talking about Facundo taking his spot. Like,
I was talking about it last game. I mean, last episode.
I don't like that. And I don't like that. Do you guys in the chat like that? Do you guys like that? Because I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of that, Danny. You can lead that march, but I don't like it.
Well, Tank just said that, and I didn't hear this. Tata said that Farias can play the 9 as well. That I haven't seen. If that's the case, Campana's gone.
Listen, we're not even going to talk about who Tank is. I'm never mentioning your name here, ever.
Why?
Even if I share his middle name, I'm not going to mention your name, Tank. Get out of here.
Why?
Get out of here.
Okay.
Talking about number 9. So we're taking out Campana and we're taking out Taylor before we take out Sergei Kristov? Get out of here.
No. Kristov is going to come off for Thomas Aviles.
Facundo is a beast. All right, Facundo is a beast attacker. Okay, let's move on.
All right,
here.
So back to the Diego Gomez. Diego Gomez looked a little lost today. I don't know if that was the hole in the midfield today, but the midfield did look lost today.
Yes.
Dixon Arroyo needs to stay back, where Diego Gomez needs to stay back if Busquets is going to keep pushing up, because Busquets is technically a defensive midfielder, but he doesn't play like that. He pushes up a lot. So we need that double pivot. We need somebody to stay back. And Arroyo and Gomez did not do that. Now, Gomez seems like he likes to play more like an 8 than a 6. He doesn't stay back. He goes box to box. And I'll give it to him. His work rate is great. You'll see him on one side of the pitch, and then he'll be on the other side of the pitch, defending. And he full of energy. That's great. But, a lot of movement without any purpose doesn't really take you anywhere. So I don't know where that leaves Diego Gomez, especially since Benjamin Kromaski did such a great job of changing the game once he got in. If Joe, from an outsider's perspective, on Friday, I think it's going to be Friday. It might be Saturday, but I think the game will be Friday. If on Friday we have our starting 11 announced, do you think Diego Gomez gets to start again from what you saw today, or do you think Ben Krem gets the start?
I think it's going to be tough because of the fact. So I'll lead with my thought, and then I'll give you my thoughts behind my thought after that. I think Ben Krem still comes on from the bench, and I'm going to tell you why. If you're playing Houston, right? Houston's entire attack goes through Acho, right? Like, he's got the keys to Houston's attack, Hector Herrera, and he's going to want to show up. And no offense to him intended, although a little, because he's on Houston. The old man can't go the whole time. So I think you let him go, you let him get gassed out, you bring Kramashi on, and then you let him cook with a tired midfield, which is, unfortunately for Dallas, that's what you saw today, right? Yeah. And Dallas not having any answers. I think eventually you get to a point where you start Kramashi, but right now, if you're starting Messi, right, you're starting Gomez, you're starting these guys, I think you got to bring Kramashi on from the bench. If you rotate the lineup a bit, I could see starting Kramashi, but I don't know that. I think you kind of leave things a little in place for right now, especially if you're going to be back at home. You got the home crowd back behind you again. That's a little bit of a different motivation. So that's my thoughts. Now, if you're playing Charlotte, who knows, right? Like, Charlotte feels like you reach your hand in a bag and you don't know what you're going to get. So.
Miss Muse, the transfer window has closed, so Sergio Ramos, my understanding is that it was never going to happen to begin with, but the transfer window is closed, so no more transfers this season.
And instead of clicking that clickbait that you see on Twitter talking about Sergio Ramos going to Inter Miami, guys, just like and subscribe, bro. Please do yourself a favor.
That's right.
All right. So, I mean, talking about that, Danny, I think that it's actually an advantage, like what Joe is saying, because, I mean, you're also bringing energetic and like hungry players on the pitch. So, like Ben Krem and Campana, who are like starving for minutes, they're going to come on and they're going to give like 1,000% just to show out in front of Tata, just to be able to get 4 extra minutes on the next game. So, I agree with that too. I agree.
All right. So
I do think there
if
needs to
you-
be some careful tactical work with Alba and Taylor to get that combination right. Because if you get it right, it's going to be dynamite. But right now, it does look a little disjointed.
It does.
And I think that's something that's getting overlooked. And I remember my wife was telling me this. It's like, why is everybody expecting us to do so well when this team is being pieced together as the tournament goes on? And it's true, because if you think about it, we got Messi and Busquets. Busquets literally arrived on a Sunday, started training on a Monday, and had his first game on a Friday. Messi had trained 4 or 5 days before that. And then we had Jordi Alba just randomly show up. Diego Gomez just randomly show up. Like, this team is being put together as we go. So there needs to be some type of cohesion that happens throughout these games. And you're going to have these random speed bumps where you kind of look disjointed, kind of like today. Robert Taylor and Jordi Alba, how much have they really had a chance to kind of get that chemistry going, to figure out this left side? Not much. So 2 things. 1, it's unfair for us to expect so much from this team.
Yeah.
2, the fact that they keep winning, even though they're trying to figure it out, and they still have 2 more players on the way, it's kind of scary for the rest of the league also.
Well, and I think that just goes to show you the kind of talent that the team has been able to acquire, right? So obviously, talent beats out the hard work that FC Dallas put forth. I mean, you can't guard a guy like Messi. I mean, you can only try to contain somebody like him, but I mean, at some point, you're just not going to be able to get down Busquets, Messi, and Jordi Alba, and to be able to take the game. I mean, they were close to it, but they just weren't able to get it done. So once this team, in reality, if this team would have lost, that's scary. To give them like 3 weeks to figure out how to play together instead of having it throughout each game in this Leagues Cup. Ugh,
I firmly think, like, once Messi got going and showed that he's excited and he's happy to be playing here, right? A happy Messi is terrifying for everybody else.
Yes.
I firmly felt like I could see Miami taking the Leagues Cup despite the league form, right? I could see Miami getting the Leagues Cup. And my take is that Miami's first loss is going to be once y'all return to league play. I think the pressure hits different in a tournament versus the league, right? And I think the league's going to take a couple weeks to really get momentum. But then I think momentum gets going. Y'all make the playoffs. I feel like y'all are going to be fine. But I do think returning to league, people are going to be like, whew, all right, we got Leagues Cup. We won that. We're good. Let's take a breath for a second. And then everybody else has had time to rest up and plan and look at game tape and then start to make their own plans for Messi and friends.
Let me tell you how lovely our schedule kind of looks. Let's say hypothetically we make the Final 4, right? Make the semifinals. Right. That means you guaranteed a game on August 19th, right? Either the 3rd place game to make the Champions Cup or the championship game to win the Leagues Cup. That's on August 19th. We have a game on August 20th against Charlotte, but that game's going to have to be moved. So we would technically play either a semifinal or a final game. I'm sorry, a 3rd place game or a final game on Leagues Cup on August 19th. And then our next game would be August 23rd in Cincinnati in the semifinals of the Open Cup.
Oh, that's right.
That's rough.
Yeah, that's been pending for some time already.
So those are 2 tough games, right? In a span of 4 days. And I've been asking Chris, so do we just run Messi and Busquets out there 90 minutes with the span of 4 days? Like, I guess you do, but that's going to be tough. And then not only do we have that game on the 23rd, but on the 26th, just 3 days later, we play against the Red Bulls. And that is I want to say in New Jersey. Yeah, but I think it's in New Jersey.
So that's an away match. Okay.
That's an away game. And the Red Bulls are the most annoying team to play against with their stupid high press and their defense.
Yeah,
nobody scores on them. So I hope you're right that we win this title with the League's Cup, because it's tough sledding right after this tournament's over, because you have no time to breathe. You got Cincinnati in Cincinnati, and then you have the Red Bulls in New Jersey, which are two tough games, and you need that New Jersey game because you want to still make the playoffs, and you only got 12 games left.
That's right. That's right. And let's not forget Cincinnati, right? Started out the season strong.
On
Supporter
fire.
Shield leaders, like they're
still a Supporter
they're a better
Shield
team
leaders.
than Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah. They're technically the best team in the league when you go just based off of points.
Yep.
All right. So going off of what's left, what team scares you the most out of the teams left here? If I guess I'll ask Chris first, and then I'll ask Joe. Chris, are there any teams here that puts fear in your heart when it comes to seeing them on the way to the finals?
Well,
LAFC,
LAFC always puts fear in my heart, but Nashville is a sleeper. Nashville is a sleeper team, man.
Well, if we were to play LAFC or Nashville, it would be on the road. Any team that's in black and white here, we would host. But any team that's in color, like Dallas is in color since we just beat them, we played them in Dallas, and we would play on the road. So on our side of the bracket, the only teams that we would have to travel to on our way to the final would be the Red Bulls or Philly, and they play each other. And then on the other side, LAFC, Minnesota, and Nashville.
Philly is the only other team that kind of puts fear in my heart, at least on our side. So, and it's only because they have that stupid doop doop song and the goal every time they score a goal. Like, I love it, but I hate it at the same time. Like, it's so unique, but it's like such a Hey Arnold kind of song. I don't know.
Yes.
Joe, who would you fear if you were Miami?
So I think anybody on this side of the bracket is beatable. Even the dupe dupers. I think you can get them. I gotta say, I mentioned in the last episode I was in Seattle. I went to the Sounders Monterey game. I tell you what, Monterey looks scary, and they didn't even look like they really got out of first gear. Fun fact: I was out and about walking. I ran into Funes Mori in the Pikes, whatever it's called, that market, and I looked. And I'm like, is that Funes Mori? And by the time I processed it was Funes Mori, he was way too far away. But I was just like, this guy looks way too in shape and designer sunglasses. Who is this guy? Obviously, he's not a local Washingtonian or whatever, right? But Monterey, I would say Monterey or LAFC, because LAFC put a whooping on who did they beat? Toluca? No, maybe I'm getting that wrong. But whoever they beat, it was bad. And so I would say LAFC or Monterey. Yeah, Carlos Vela plays for LAFC.
Yes.
Tank says Philly look, I feel the Red Bulls, and simply because I don't know how they do it. They could have absolutely nobody's on that roster, which they usually do, and they're always a tough out. Their defense, they're I don't know how they manage to press for 100 minutes a game, but they're a tough task, especially going up there to play. And then, like you said, LAFC, and America, just historically, just that team, I would be worried about playing them. So, and like you said, Monterrey, I want to say they're top of the table or second top in the table in the Liga MX in the regular season so far this year. So, those are the tough teams to go. All right, so I guess we're reaching an end here. Chris, anything changing in the starting 11 for Friday or Saturday? We're not sure yet. I think it's Friday.
I would say I think it's going to stay the same. I think you might see some changes with you have Allen there, but Allen wasn't starting.
Oh, you're right. This is Atlanta. My apologies.
Yeah,
regardless,
2 games
that was
ago.
that was 2 games ago. But so Jordi Alba on the left side.
Do you think that? And just let me ask you this question before I keep going. You think the team misses Ian Frey? Because I'll tell you, I kind of miss him watching this game, because at least he has a little bit more speed than the other 2 center backs. I think it would have been really nice to have him play, especially now. That's probably why he was freaking so hurt internally when he got hurt. that last game that he
I
played.
think he would have been a big contributor to this team. I thought that I originally was saying that he would take Kamal Miller's spot, but after the last couple of games, seeing how Kamal Miller can link up with Busquets and just how he works the ball with his feet, I do think Kamal Miller is going to keep his spot, and I think it's Christoph that's going to be off. And I thought it would be for Ian Frey, but it's going to be for Thomas Aviles. And with that said, I've been hearing that there's a possibility that they get added to the team, both him and Farias, this week. Now, does that mean that they're going to be available for Friday? I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be kind of like the Messi, Busquets, and Alba thing where they kind of debut at the last 10, 15 minutes of the game. But my understanding is that they might be available. Somebody just got banned. I don't know what just happened.
I don't know.
I want to say real quick, I saw somebody ask why Miami was not wearing their away jerseys. Let's clarify something. It was 109 degrees in Texas today. Miami's away jerseys are black. I don't think I need to say any more than that. I know it was sundown, but come on, no one wants to wear black jerseys in that kind of heat.
Well, as a home field advantage, if I was Dallas, I would have made you wear black.
I mean, true, but pink looks so good on Messi. I mean, come on.
This is true, and it's also Messi, so Messi gets what he wants, right?
Right.
Yes.
All right. So, Joe, I think I already asked you, but I guess I'll ask you just one more time for confirmation. Starting 11, Diego Gomez starts or Benja Cremaschi?
I think it's going to be Gomez again. I think Cremaschi, I think Ben Crem, as Chris so lovingly puts it, I think he'll eventually start. I don't think it's going to be right now because I think Tata likes bringing him on and completely changing the momentum of the game with that high energy and additional option for someone like Alba or Messi to play into.
Yeah. Okay. I
agree
definitely
with
see
that.
it. I think Diego Gomez. One, I think that he's going to start, and two, I think Tata might be one of those stubborn people that kind of just wants to make things work until they just absolutely do not work. So
yes.
And then thank you, Jay, for joining us from India. All right. And then I guess I'll ask Joe, because Joe, you probably won't be with us for a little while. Predictions for the Leagues Cup as far as Inter Miami goes, Open Cup since we have Cincinnati in the semifinal, and then playoffs and Leagues Cup. Just tell me overall your predictions for Inter Miami. We will bookmark this and we will make fun of you if you get it wrong.
Oh, that's fine, right? I will say I didn't predict a Dallas win on the last game. I did predict a Miami win. So I did think there would be a lot of goals. I didn't think there'd be this many goals, but but still, right?
Listen, before you get into your prediction, I know that the tickets were overpriced, but I'm pretty sure everybody got their money's worth.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
I wish 100%. I would have paid, right? Maybe a couple extra $100 to go in person. Because tell you what, I was there for Beckham's first match, and it was not this glorious, right?
Oh,
but it was a good match.
What was going on with your supporter groups? They were complaining about the ticket prices?
Yeah. So real quick. So the supporter section is usually a pretty affordable spot for people to buy tickets. I don't know if that's the $45 price point, but it's kind of in that range. And then you've got supporters groups that have been there some that have been there historically since the beginning, and others that have been a bit more recent-ish. And so they always will buy the tickets and they'll always go and they'll have the horns. And I will say shout out to Inter Miami, because Inter Miami fans made it possible for Dallas traveling fans to bring horns and a lot of other things that we're used to bringing when Dallas played in Miami earlier this season. So there's some good camaraderie there. But the supporters group couldn't afford to buy out the supporters section because they were priced out by the ticket price point, unfortunately. So people did what they could to come and still kind of cobble together tickets to make sure there was enough of a supporters group that there historically is in that section. But it was still not what we like. The noise was as good as it could be, but it is not. It's usually a lot louder from the supporters groups in a regular season match. But that's what it's going to happen. So it's just kind of like you know it and you adjust for it.
Especially a Western Conference team that might not see him again.
Right. Exactly. So predictions. I think Miami's gonna make the playoffs in the 8th place. That's my prediction. I think it's gonna be. There's not enough games left to go really much higher than that. I don't think it's gonna be 9th place. I do think it's gonna be that 8th place spot. Open Cup. I think it's going to be finals, and I think depending on the Leagues Cup is going to depend on the Open Cup. And what I mean by that is I think Miami's getting to the semifinals of the Leagues Cup. If Miami wins the Leagues Cup, I don't think they win the Open Cup. I think that's just too much. Like, got to get up and get going for a big game back to back. I think if Miami don't make the Leagues Cup final and or don't win, they're going to get the Open Cup because they're going to feel like we should have gotten a trophy. So let's get the next one. So I don't think you're getting both, but I think you're getting one or the other. And then I think the playoffs, it's going to be a bit of a crapshoot.
And I think the ultimate goal is making Champions Cup for next year. You need those international games.
And you need to get right with the expanded Club World Cup. You got to get in the Champions League so you can win the Champions League, right? And then get one of those spots because you want to see Messi and Inter Miami playing Barcelona in the Club World Cup. Everybody wants to see that, right? So let's make it happen.
For sure.
This person, Miss Muse, thinks that we are not aware how good Messi is and why we're winning because of the 3 new players. I mean, I think we mentioned Messi more than 4,765 times.
Yeah, no, I think everybody understands that Messi is definitely the reason we're winning. Like that's not a question. But actually, I can't even imagine why they got that from because I don't think we've said anything in the contrary. So I guess I'll just
may have been directed
that.
to someone at the comments. We could always just assume it was to someone in the comments.
So
which by
somebody
the way,
asked, yes.
My wife messaged us in our chat showing that it's on Friday.
Okay.
So the game is actually going to be this
confirmed.
Friday.
So confirmed Friday, and it will be at home for those asking about the corn. Yes. All right. Yeah. So I think that's it. Anything else for the people? Joe, tell them one more time where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm going to put a link, the Apple Podcast link for the Miami Fusion podcast that I do. I just dropped it in the comments earlier, and I just dropped it in there now. So I would really appreciate if you would go copy that, go subscribe, do it 5-star ratings. I know I don't have a shorter link for that, right? But if you just go search Miami Fusion podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, you'll find it. It's the oral history of the first MLS club in Miami, the Miami Fusion, which laid the groundwork for the incredible environment that we have now. Chris Henderson, right, sporting director of Inter Miami, was on the Miami Fusion. There's a lot of connective tissue. Ray Hudson was the coach of the Miami Fusion. So I would really support it. I like to do, right, preserving legacies of MLS teams in the past so we can appreciate guys like Messi now and appreciate the guys that came before. So the show is called 25 for 25, Story of the Miami Fusion from those who lived it. And on Friday, October 6th, Mickey Byron's Irish Pub in Hollywood, Florida, live podcast recording and Miami Fusion reunion. It's free to come. You can check out at Miami Fusion Pod on Instagram and Facebook or Detox Joe on Twitter, and you should find the Eventbrite link. It's going to be a good time for sure. You never know who's going to pop in.
Yep. And thank you, Tank. If you haven't followed Joe already, go do that. And like Tank said, please hit a like and subscribe button if you liked it. And if you didn't like it, still hit the like and subscribe. Whatever.
Right. You could share it, right? Views are views.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Chris.
And by the way, the guy that got blocked is back. So Nacho Gamer, welcome back. Don't worry.
Yeah,
everything is okay.
We're not sure why you got blocked. It wasn't us. I'll tell you that. I mean, unless it was Chris, because I try to stay away from the comment section as much as possible. Final thoughts, Chris.
Listen, final thoughts is I'm sorry that my internet went out. I'm still currently trying to steal my neighbor's Wi-Fi. I promise the next show will be better. I promise. That's a promise written in stone. And this was a hell of a game, man.
Man, it was a hell of a night. This was a hell of a night. And if you are just watching MLS now, I mean, it's a competitive league. You're not gonna see Real Madrid versus Granada FC. I promise you. It's competitive soccer. It's fun, and I mean, obviously with Messi, it's that much funner. So we appreciate the people that listen to us on audio all the way to the end. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. And for those of you that are in the comments, thank you as always for commenting. You guys are always the best part of the shows, and that's why we have so much fun doing it. So thank you guys for that. And thank you, Joe, for joining us. Sorry that your team lost, but it was a fun game. And does anybody have any doubt that we're winning this title? Because I feel like after the way we beat Cruz Azul and the way we came back today, I feel like it's almost like, okay, I see what's happening here. I see the Apple TV documentary. Like, I see it coming. So am I the only one that feels that way?
Maybe an LA fan, an LAFC, to be clear, not a Galaxy fan, but an LAFC fan.
No, not at all. All right. Chris, anything for the people before we head out? I'm sorry, I think I asked you that already, but I just lost my train of thought again, so I just repeated myself.
It's okay. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for chiming in the chat. You guys are amazing. And
thank you guys for actually subscribing. We hit 700 subscribers just now, so we appreciate you guys for that. And I think that's it. You know what? I wish I could keep talking because I don't think I'm going to be able to sleep for the next couple of hours because I'm so hyped about everything that I watched tonight. Messi is as good as advertised, if not better. And I'm just excited for Friday. I will find out when the tickets are on sale because I haven't missed the game yet, and I don't plan on missing one anytime soon. Again, thank you guys for listening. Subscribe, Joe's Miami Fusion podcast. And I don't know why Chris is showing that Phil Neville shirt. Please never do that again. And we will catch you guys next time. So until the next time, have a good one.